All right, different video, picking up where I left off on the major scale conversation. And we're gonna go ahead and do our second major scale in the key of C. Okay, so we did the first one, that was on page 42, where it was in 7th position, first finger on 7th fret. We did have a note on that 7th fret, but the root, the C, starts on the middle finger, so I'm going to start it there. But it was 1, which I'm not going to play, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. But the root is on the 2. And back down. Okay, that was 7th position, key of C. We're going to do our next one. It's on page 40. It is 2nd position, key of C, major scale. I think I already said this in the other video, but that should say, it says 1st position on your page. That's incorrect. It is 2nd position, which means that underneath the top left diagram, it says 1st fret. That should be 2nd fret. And all the other places on the page where it says 1st position, that's wrong. It should be 2nd position because our 1st finger is on the 2nd fret. And we are going to shift out of that in one spot, but that's okay. So again, so we'll start it out. It really doesn't matter where you start on this one just to run the pattern. You could just run the pattern as it is, but there's nothing on the 1st finger. The next one would be, get this a little higher so maybe you can see it. But the next one, the first one on the pattern on the low E string, closest to your face is the 2, the 2nd finger. That's on 3rd fret, even though we're in 1st position. So down on that one, and then on the 4th finger, we're staying in 2nd position here. 1st finger, 2nd finger. Now that's the root. Okay. So then the next finger, next string, 1st finger, 2nd finger, 4th finger, next string, 1st finger, 3rd finger, next is 4th finger. Now on the next string, you might notice that really what looks to be like it should be the middle finger, because it's right here on the 3rd fret, which is where our middle finger was. It actually jumps, it shifts to a 3rd position for the rest of it. And that happens sometimes on these. As I said in the other one, you know how like the B string or the G, the repeat is at the 4th fret. So sometimes that just right there in that B string, G string range, sometimes things get a little tricky. But we're actually going to jump out of 2nd position into 3rd position from that. So at that, excuse me, on the G string, we have A on the 1st finger, B on the 3rd finger, C on the 4th finger. You're going to jump out, so like jump to the right, 1st finger, where the D is, E, F. So 1, 3, 4, and then 1, 3. And that's as far as you can go. You can go up here, but then we're really going to be just in another pattern. At that point, we'll be in another position. So again, I'll say that again. We're starting a low E string closest towards your face. There's nothing on the 1st fret there. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4. Next string, 1, 2, 4. Next string, 1, 3, 4. And then we shift position for the next string. 1st finger on 3rd fret. 3, 4, 1, 3. So again, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Out of position, move forward or move to your right. 1st finger on 3rd fret. 3, 4, 1, 3. Now that kind of sounds weird because we started on the G, which is not the root. Okay, so if you kind of want to get a feel for what the major scale is in total, like start to finish, you only have one full run in this position, which is on your middle finger on the A string. So if you start with that and then complete the pattern, That's your full major scale in this position. Notice that actually is the same pattern as the one up here, where we started it on the low E string closest to your face. And that actually will be the case until we start getting into that BG mix, because instead of repeating at the 5th fret, it repeats at the 4th. So that's when things will kind of change. But that's a similar pattern, which is good news. But I would do that down here. With the metronome and all that, just kind of go up and down it, because that gives you a start. It starts training your ear to go, okay, that's the bottom of the major scale, here's the top, and just to get a little more internalized, to be able to recognize when you're hearing the major scale. So that's good, but in terms of your technique, in terms of your like muscle memory, you probably should just run the scale up and down. So again, what I would do, I've been using 100 here. I'm gonna skip for the first bit, but I'm going up and down. Okay, so from the low E string, 2nd position. Jump positions. Whoa, and then back down. And this is kind of a tricky. You're kind of going down in position. Okay, and then as you get better, you can speed it up. And if you feel like you're a little ahead of that, but your strum's ahead of your fingers, you can always go double up on the strum. Oh, I think I did the other major scale. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Switch position, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3. Back down. Switch positions. Can't do it and talk at the same time. Okay, that was a little rough, but you get the idea. You can increase your tempo and stick with the click, or you can double, whatever kind of makes it work for you. One thing I have found that is it really is more challenging than I feel like it should be, which is sort of embarrassing, but since your fingers are doing sometimes 2, sometimes 3 on different strings, I found that if you do certain accent patterns, that's also really challenging. So like, let's say you're gonna do accent every 4, like 4/4 pattern, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Let's find a tempo that I might actually. That's a little fast. Come on now. Well, that sounded weird. It's like a dud firecracker on some of these. What is it doing that? Oh, you're just experiencing this real time. Quite professional. That doesn't make any sense to me why it's doing that. Whatever. All right, so I've got it a little different now, but hopefully I can do this at this tempo. Every 4. Oh, maybe I was doing every 2, wasn't I? Maybe it is a little too fast. I messed up. Yeah, that was challenging for me. It's just a little unusual, but it's helpful. I mean, anything that's challenging is good. You can do that. That was every 4. You can do every 2. And that actually, the accents are great because the harder you pick it, the stiffer you got to grip it with your thumb. So it's actually good practice to kind of change how you, not flexibility, but you're not always gripping it as tight as other times. So it's a good practice with that too. You can also do accent every 3. Da, 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 da. That's a wild one. That one I don't even know if I could do at this tempo, honestly. I did the other scale. Up there too. That was actually a good tempo for me to rip up and down and just like habitually do it. That would have been a good tempo for me. That's 92 right there. But accents are another great way to do some scales. I want to say a couple other things when I mute this about the major scale. I'm going to take that spot in that second position where our root was. So I said that the root, the formula is root, whole, which happens to be the same as this note that's in our position, half, whole, and another whole, which would be up in this position, but it's the same as this one. So it was like half, whole, which is the same as this one, whole, half. That's why that major scale is built that way. Root, whole, half, whole, half. And we're back to the root. Okay, the chords we've been doing, I'm just going to call back to that. We've been doing keys. So in the key of C, we had, or in the key of G, we had a 1 chord, which would be the G, that's the root. We had a 4 chord, which would be the C, a 5 chord, which would be the D, D, 6 minor, which would be the E minor. We had a 2 minor, which was the A minor, and we had a 3 minor, which was the B minor. Okay, all those, when we say the 2, the 5, and the 1 chord, that's all based on the scale. So since we're in the key of C with our scale, and you're looking at the notes on your diagram as well as the finger position, so I'll refer to this. Again, C is our root. Every note of the scale has a number. So the root, C, is 1. The next note, the D, is a 2. That's the second note of the scale. The third note of the scale would be E, fourth note, F, fifth note, G, sixth note, A, seventh note, B, root again, 1 or 8 is C. So as you can tell, when I'm saying 1, 4, 5, 6 minor, 2 minor, 3 minor, that's coming from this. Okay, if our key is C, then our 1 chord is the C chord. Our 2 chord is it's not a D major chord, because actually with these notes, you can't make a major chord out of the 2. And I'll go into that in a different lesson. But that's D minor. That's the 2 chord. Again. Okay. C, D, third note is E. And that would be the E minor chord, the 3 minor chord. So 1, 2, 3. And you guessed it, the 4th note in the scale, 1, 2, 3, is the 4. Or is the F. F starts with 4, so that's why I got confused. 4F, which is this chord. Okay? And then we have, so 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th note of the scale is G, which is why in the key of C, G is the 5 chord. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wonderful. And then so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 6th of the scale is A. So A minor, 6 minor, And I think I've said before, in the class at least, we don't make a chord. In our style of music, we don't make use of the chord. That's the 7 chord. And it's sometimes, actually in like hymns, you'll hear it, but it's just not our style anymore. It's there sometimes. Actually, in I Speak Jesus, it's there. Maybe we could discuss that sometime. But in the key of E, it's harder to talk about because they're sharps. So we just won't do that. But anyway, that's the 7th is B, and then back to C. So I think that's all I'm going to explain with the chords and why some are major, why some are minor. But that's why the numbers are there, okay? So I might just go one further. We played the key of C. We played 7th position. We played that scale. Okay, that's the major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. If we take that, the root of that scale on page 42 is the middle finger on, sorry, that was not meant to be inappropriate, but like 7th position, middle finger on the low E string. If I were to slide that down, we probably know what that note is, but that's a G. Now I'm not going to say the notes, but if that's where my root is, if I did middle finger, and if I stayed in 2nd position to where my middle finger was on the 3rd fret, I could play the same scale pattern as on page 42. They wouldn't be the same notes, but if you use the same fingers, that, you started with the G, that's a G major scale. So up here it was a C major scale because we started at a C. But if we started at a G, it's a G major scale. And now the notes are different, but the pattern's the same. Okay, so again, like in the key of G, this is a G, that's the 1 chord. The 2 is an A, and the 2 chord is always a minor, so A minor. 1, 2, 3. The 3rd note is a B. The third note always has a minor chord. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a C. The 4 is always a major. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the D. That's a D. So the D major chord. 6 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's an E. So your E minor chord, the 6 is always minor. And we don't use the 7. So that's that. So when we're going through the chords, that's why I always had the number listed next to them, because it's a 1 chord, a 2 minor chord, a 3 minor chord, a 4 major chord, 5 major chord, 6 minor chord. So that's why those numbers are there. Now, why that's important, you could go your whole life and play music and not really know that, but it's really helpful for transposition or being able to talk to people about music. And what I really think you should do, and it was helpful for me, it was kind of accidental for me, but it's helped, is if you start to play these chord progressions and if you start to recognize, oh, I'm playing the 4, then you're going to start to train your ear and your brain to be in sync. You'll start to hear what a 4 chord sounds like. You'll start to hear what a 5 chord sounds like. And every key, the 5 and the 4, those will all be different chords. But in every key, the 1, the 4, and the 5, they have specific properties and sounds. We'll go through those properties and sounds in the music theory class, or week, whatever. But if you can start keeping track of and think of, not only in terms of the chords, but also their number, you're going to start to hear what those chords sound like. And you'll start to recognize that, you know, your big 4, the 1, the 4, the 5, and the 6 minor, they have certain properties that you can start to make progressions kind of do what you want them to do because you know what they sound like. Like I might be playing in the key of G next time instead of the key of C, but I want that chord progression to have this particular set of sounds in a row, and you can start to do that on your own. And when you're playing with other people, let's say you don't have any sheet music in front of you, you can start to hear, oh, we're doing a 1, 4, 5 and a 6 minor in that order. Oh, no problem. I'm just tagging along. You know, most things really aren't that complicated in our style of music. So, and you can transpose on the fly. It helps with capo playing. That's probably all I'll say about it. But yeah, that might have been a bigger deep dive than you wanted on the major scale, but there you have it. Scale number 2 in the key of C, second position. Awesome.